Welcome back. Today, we're cracking the code on the AQA English Language Paper 1 exam. We're turning examiner reports and mark schemes into your ultimate strategic masterclass. If you've ever wondered exactly what effective techniques examiners are desperately looking for, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get to it. So, how on earth do you conquer 80 marks in just an hour and 45 minutes? Look, it sounds like an insurmountable mountain to climb, right? But honestly, we need to reframe this. It's not a mountain, it's a predictable, highly strategic game. And in this game, precise timing and deep examiner insights are your ultimate keys to victory. We're not just going to talk about what to write today. We're going to look at exactly how to construct your answers to hit the absolute top levels of the mark scheme. Here's our game plan. We'll start with overall strategy, hit the language questions, tackle structural effects, break down the big evaluation question, dive into creative fiction, and wrap it all up with essential timing. It's a complete tactical mission plan. First up, mastering AQA Paper 1 strategy, including the overall structure and those new 2026 changes. Okay, let's look at the big picture. Your ultimate battle plan is perfectly split. You've got Section A for reading, worth 40 marks, and Section B for writing, also worth 40 marks. Respecting this 50-50 balance of time and marks is literally your first major step to success. Think about it. If you spend a whole hour agonizing over Section A, you are actively stealing precious marks away from your own creative writing later on. Now, the exam format is actually evolving. If you're taking the 2026 exams or beyond, listen up. The assessment objectives, exactly the same. But the questions have been tweaked to give you a much clearer mission. Question 1 becomes a simple multiple choice. Question 3 narrows its focus to one specific structural effect, like how a writer builds suspense, for example. Question 4 drops that confusing "a student said" prompt, so you just evaluate the statement directly. And question 5? It now gives you the option to write just the opening of a narrative, so you don't have to rush to finish a whole story. These changes are entirely in your favor, as long as you know how to use them. All right, moving to questions 1 and 2 on language. This is all about securing those early marks. Since question 1 is now a multiple choice task worth 4 marks, it's basically a smash and grab. Do not spend more than 4 minutes here. Read the specified lines carefully, check the boxes, and quickly bank those points. It's just about identifying basic explicit and implicit information. Get in, get the marks, and move on. Now, question 2 is where we need to talk strategy. You know those generic phrases like, "it makes the reader want to read on," or "it creates a picture in our heads"? Yeah, examiners absolutely hate those. It's a classic level 1 mistake because you could say that about literally any book ever written. To hit level 3 and above, you've got to be precise. Deal with language features individually. Don't just list a bunch of techniques. Give a highly specific, contextualized explanation of why the writer chose that exact word for this exact moment in the story. Next is question 3, structural effects. We are analyzing what happens where and why. This is where a lot of students stumble, but you won't. Question 3 shifts your focus entirely away from individual words and toward the overarching blueprint of the text. Examiners highlight this exact question as the single most useful thing you can ask yourself. How does reading about this, at this point, add to my understanding of the source as a whole? Stop hunting for adjectives for a second. Why does the author start with the weather, suddenly zoom in on a character's face, and then flash back to a memory? So how do we turn that into an actionable technique? Well, examiners warn against only analyzing a tiny paragraph here. The prompt explicitly asks you about the whole source. Your strategy is to track the shifts. How does the perspective, or the focus, shift from the beginning, through the middle, to the very end? Remember, it's about what happens, where it happens, and crucially, why the writer placed it there to mess with the reader's head. Moving right along to question 4, the evaluation, critically responding to a statement. We've reached the big one for Section A. This is worth a hefty 20 marks. That's a quarter of your entire grade. Examiner reports reveal a fascinating secret about the students who score top marks here. They actually think before they write. Follow this exact workflow. First, read the statement and form your own real opinion on it. Next, break that statement down into its separate claims. Then hunt through the text for specific evidence. Finally, evaluate both what the writer is saying and how they are saying it. Don't just blindly nod and agree with the prompt. You need to critically evaluate the text and construct a really focused argument. All right, deep breath. We are entering Section B. Question 5, creative fiction writing. This is your opportunity to show off.
This single question is worth 40 marks. That is a staggering 50% of your entire paper. I know your hand is probably cramping by this point, but this is absolutely not the time to run out of steam. You have to treat this section with the respect it deserves.
And get this, out of those 40 marks, a massive 16 marks are awarded purely for technical accuracy. That means your spelling, your punctuation, and your grammar. The examiners aren't just looking for a fun story, they're evaluating your absolute ironclad control over the English language. So, what's the most effective technique here? Quality over quantity. Taking 2 minutes to draw a spider diagram or a quick flowchart is not a waste of time. It is a total necessity. The examiner reports heavily emphasize that planning creates cohesion. Students who just start writing with no plan almost always see their structure and grammar completely fall apart by page 3. A planned, tightly structured 2-page story will easily outscore 5 pages of rambling nonsense. To hit those top tiers, keep these strategies in your back pocket. Know your ending before you even write the first word. Try adopting a circular structure where the ending echoes the beginning. Please avoid those robotic, I can see, I can smell sentences. And don't just shoehorn in a massive complex vocabulary word where it simply doesn't fit naturally. Instead, show off by integrating colons, semicolons, and dashes seamlessly to control the rhythm of your narrative. Almost done. Let's lock in your time management with essential timing and final checks.
Let's assume a 1:30 p.m. start. This timeline gives you a strict minute-by-minute pace. Notice the tight 4 minutes for question 1, the 8 minutes for questions 2 and 3, and a solid 20 minutes for question 4. Crucially, this ensures you have a full 40 minutes for question 5. But look at the gap at the end. You absolutely must leave a strict 10 minutes to proofread. Remember those 16 technical accuracy marks we just talked about? Proofreading is where you secure them by fixing silly little mistakes like missed capital letters or comma splices.
So, armed with these targeted insights, you are now completely equipped to maximize your score. You know what the examiners hate, you know what they love, and you know exactly how to effectively pace yourself. The only question now is, when you sit down for your very next practice paper, which of these high-level techniques are you going to implement first? Get out there, plan your answers, and absolutely conquer this exam.